To that, you go look in the bed and it's my stain, it's a black stain on the bed after my phone now. Hold on, y'all. Thank you. You go look in the bed. Oh no. And it's my stain, it's a black stain on the bed after my phone. To that, you go hold on. Let me share my screen. The director of his own destiny, the publisher of his own ends. Man should understand that because man is full of knowledge, and this knowledge is a gift that nature, and what nature really means is of nothing, he was given the faculty of understanding all things around him. This faculty of understanding and feeling away from him. Raising my team, head like a green queen, the king to look now screen. I should. I'm raising my team, head like a green queen, the king to look now screen. I should. All right. Welcome back to Kofi Piesie TV. Let me start sharing my screen real quick. First, I want to say Black African Power, ETM Hotel, Dua Aku, Dua Nature. Yours. Y'all, can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you, Kofi.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Says my speaker.
The song was sounding choppy. The song was sounding real choppy, but I can hear you, but the song was sounding real choppy. But you sound good. You yourself, you sound good. And I don't see the YouTube screen at the moment to ask now. Say something.
Again over there, ain't nobody responding, and then my mic is muted. It says, Chris. Hold on, let me see something.
Your speaker's not working. Please check your connection and use a different speaker. And it did. Let's see if that works. All right, it's unmuted. Can y'all hear me out there? Let me know if y'all can hear me. Can't hear you. Can't hear you now, family. You good now? We can hear you. Okay. You are clear. Okay. Because I got a funny thing pop up on here. Good, I ain't presenting. But anyway, ETM Hotel, Dua, Aku, Dua Nature, Fatmu Alafie, Fatmu Iwa Riri, Majuba Iba E Gungun, Majuba Iba E Egun, I mean Majuba Iba E Gungun, Majuba Iba E Alakba, Majuba Iba E Alakba, Egungun Kiki Egungun. First, I want to give honor and praises to the ancestors, because without the ancestors, we wouldn't be here. I also want to give honor and praises to the true and living ancestors, those who are ancestors according to African traditions. Today we come back with part two, um, reptiles in Africa. I got brother Satipara Mariaman, brother Sutek, who's going to be presenting, and brother Vasa Nicolo Gullah on the panel. Please like, share the show, tell a friend, and tell a friend, and tell a friend about the show, or just share the show with those who you think that may be interested in this information. If you don't think that they're interested in the information, then don't waste your time with sharing the video with them. Um, but anybody got anything, man, before we get started? I guess not. Brother Sutek, you want me to share it, or you got it from your end?
Hold on, let me see. Let me try. See if it'll work for me.
If it don't, I got it pulled up if it don't work for you.
Okay, here you go.
All right.
But yeah, man, peace to the family. Like the show and share the show as you come in. I'm going to get into my part two of reptiles and African culture. The part one, if you haven't seen part one yet, after the show, you should go back and check it out. It's a pretty good presentation. I dealt with crocodiles, chameleons, and I can't remember. I dealt with something else, another animal too, another reptile. I can't remember at the moment, but you can always go back and check it out. It's a pretty good presentation. We're gonna get into part two right now. Hopefully everybody enjoy it. Like the show and share the show as you come in, and we can get into it. All right. Now I started with this slide in my part one. What are reptiles? And I'm gonna go through it again just to refresh everybody's memory, just in case. What are reptiles? Reptiles are tetrapod animals in the class Reptilia, comprising today's turtles, crocodilians, snakes, amphisbaenians, lizards, and tuatara, and their extinct relatives. The study of these traditional reptile orders, historically combined with that of modern amphibians, is called herpetology. So herpetology is the study of these amphibians. Um, let's get into the first one. The turtle and the tortoise is what we will be dealing with first. All right. In African fairy tales, the tortoise is the cleverest animal. Mzee, Swahili for wise old man, It's the name of a 130-year-old Aldabra tortoise, 130 years old. In the southern part of Africa, story tells about a tortoise named Fudukazi are common. Fudukazi gave the animals their color. Ijapa, the tortoise, alternatively called Alabahun, is a trickster, accomplishing heroic deeds or getting into trouble in a cycle of tales told by the Yoruba of Nigeria and Benin Republic in West Africa, also known as Mb Nwa Aniga, literally translating to tortoise, son of Aniga. In folklore among the Igbo people of Nigeria, depicted as slow but smart manipulator, excuse me, able to figure a way out of every dicey situation. The Fali people of West Africa. The Fali people of West Africa are a small ethnic group concentrated in mountainous regions or mountainous areas of northern Cameroon, but some also live in northeastern Nigeria that are called Bana. In Fali mythology, they believe that the world was born from two eggs, one from a toad and the other from a turtle. I have some Fali brothers right there on the side. They are straight from West Africa, northern Cameroon. The Nupe, traditionally called the Tapa by neighboring Yoruba, are an ethnic group located primarily in the Middle Belt in northern Nigeria and are the dominant group in the Niger state, an important minority in the Kwara state and present in Kogi state as well. According to a Nupe story, God created the tortoise or the turtle, men and stones. Of each, he created male and female. God gave life to the tortoise and men, but not to the stones. Neither turtle nor men could have children, and when they became old, they did not die, but became automatically rejuvenated, becoming young again. The continuation to this story or this mythos. The tortoise, however, wished to have children and went to God. But God said, I have given you life, but I have not given you permission to have children. But the tortoise came to God again to renew his request to procreate. And finally, God said, you always come to ask for children. Do you not realize when the living have had several children, they must die? But the tortoise said, let me see my children and then die. Then God granted the wish. When the man saw the tortoise had children, he too wanted children. God warned the man as he, excuse me, as he had the tortoise. God warned the man as he had the tortoise, he that he must die. But the man also said, let me see my children and then die. That is how death and children came into the world. Yeah, that's one mythos. The turtle Shetiu or Shetu was a common was common in ancient Egyptian art, especially pre-dynastic and Old Kingdom art. Turtle fossils are more common, or the most common reptiles found in the Fayum, including Gigantochersina armoon. I believe I said that correctly. If not, then you know what it is. A turtle as large as those living on the Galapagos Islands today. Charles Andrew was the first to write in the West about these turtles in the 20th century. Now, pre-dynastic slate palettes represent freshwater turtles, as does the hieroglyph or sesh for turtle, in which the chelonian is always represented from above. And the chelonian is basically like the turtle family, turtles, tortoises, and tuatara, if I'm correct. But it's basically the family, the turtle family. Zoomorphic palettes were commonly made in the shapes of turtles. A stone vase in the form of a turtle was found in Nakata. Other art representations of turtles in ancient Egypt were common. And then you see the pre-dynastic slate turtle from the Kata II period. They say it was probably used to hold water, uh, but that's just a guess. That's just an assumption. But you see it. It is in a museum in Berlin. Now let's go to frogs and toads. That's a nice pattern that this frog has. But if anybody watches um, Nat Geo, the Animal Planet, anything like that, we know those bright and vibrant colors look attractive to us, but in nature they are a warning sign. All right. In some regions, amphibians, mainly toads, are used for medical treatment by villagers, such as southeastern Guinea and Benin. Children's cough, append, 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 uh, appendic, appendicitis, or skin injuries are among the diseases treated with toads. However, in Africa, most amphibians are collected for food. The consumption of larger frog species like the African bullfrog, the crown bullfrog, the hairy frog, and Goliath frogs, or grassland frogs, is known from a wide range of African countries, such as Benin, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Guinea, Namibia, Nigeria, South Africa, and Togo. And I have an image of the African pixie frog or the African bullfrog on the right here. It's pretty huge. A variety of different ethnic groups from West Africa, such as the Goromanchi, which is a language group, the Masi in Burkina Faso, the Yakuba in Cote d'Ivoire, the Bakosi in Cameroon, and the Yoruba in Nigeria. Traditionally use frogs as food or for medical and cultural reasons. African amphibians are mainly harvested and consumed in and around the villages, and often, excuse me, there is little selection for particular species other than size. The larger species are preferred, basically. Even toads and tadpoles are harvested, prepared, and sold in local markets. On the Obudu Plateau in Nigeria, we observe a very tense collection of frogs and tadpoles from small rivers. This traditional use of frogs seems to have become unsustainable in recent years. Women harvesting these species now have come to walk much longer distances than previously to arrive at rivers that still provide enough amphibians to make the harvest feasible. So they're consuming. It sounds like they're consuming too much of the frogs and the tadpoles and the toads because they're getting harder to find. Now in Kemet, Heket is a deity of fertility represented in the form of a frog. To the Egyptians, the frog was an ancient symbol of fertility related to the annual flooding of the Nile. Heket was originally the female counterpart of Khnum, or the wife of Khnum, by whom she became the mother of Heru-Ur, or Heru the Elder. In the beginning of her cult dates to the early dynastic period at least. Her name was part of the names of some highborn second dynasty individuals buried at Helwan, and was mentioned on a stela of Wepum no Fret. I slaughtered that name, Wepum no Fret, and in the pyramid text. Early frog statuettes are often thought to be depicted of her, or often thought to be depictions of her as a fertility deity associated explicitly with the last stages of the flooding of the Nile, and so with the germination of corn, she became associated with the final stages of childbirth. This association, which appears to have risen during the Middle Kingdom, gained her the title "She who hastens the birth." Women often wore amulets of her during childbirth, which depicted Heket as a frog sitting on a lotus. And the image of Heket from the early dynasty, circa 3000 BCE. It's a frog statuette, and it is housed in the Cleveland Museum of Art. The Ogdo. Although this name associated to a group of 8 deities that played a significant role in the preliminary creation of the world, according to the Kemetic priesthood of Kemenu, which literally means city or nation of 8. The earliest known records mentioning the Ogdo are found in the Old Kingdom of Kemet in the Pyramid text, circa 2350 BCE, and later in the Coffin text. Creation stories were apt to change over Kemet's 4,000-year history, even when the deities remained consistent. Although the creation stories varied, the deities consistently emerged as 4 pairs, with each pair reflecting an equivalent balance of male and female force. Thus, there were 4 male deities pictorially represented as frogs, and four female deities pictorially represented as serpents. 4 male frog deities, and 4 female serpent deities. There are alternative renderings of these deities, but the frog and serpent rendition provides the most insight to the relationship that these deities have with the Noon. Frogs and serpents were the first and most obvious forms of life that appear on the banks of the receded Nile River. And we're gonna get into serpents. See my brother over there with the serpent around his neck. Um, this brother is actually from Benin, Ouida to be exact.
Yeah, he look like he down. He ready for some serious business, ain't
Yeah, I think cause I seen a video of him. I think he works at the temple,
Which,
the Python temple.
oh, and okay, so he a practitioner of voodoo.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's a guard, and he works at the temple for the tourists, handling the snakes, letting the tourists wear the snakes and so forth.
Okay.
All the data relating to serpent beliefs in Africa may be conveniently arranged under the following headings. And we have 5 of these. The first one is Python worship. Then we have rainbow guardian snakes and rain. The third is the birth snake and fecundity, which fecundity is basically fertility. Um, Snake souls, reincarnation, transmigration, and totemism. And the last is immunity, snake medicine, and general superstitions. All right. The rainbow god of the Ashanti was also conceived to have the form of a snake. His messenger was said to be a small variety of boa, but only certain individuals, not the whole species, were sacred. In many parts of Africa, the serpent is looked upon as the incarnation of deceased relatives. Among the Amazulu, as among the Betsilio of Madagascar, certain species are assigned as the abode of certain classes. The Maasai, on the other hand, regard each species as the habitat of a particular family or of the tribe.
And I just want to say some, just reiterate some.
Okay.
You talking about the snakes, you talking about the reptiles. I know a lot of us, we look at things through the look at the world view through the lens of, the European, and the snakes. I know, we talked about this earlier. We talked about the snakes. We know the snakes was related to the Pangu and the Sira society, uh, dealing with their indigenous tradition, Fataru. And but we was talking about this earlier, that the snakes is not demonized um in African culture, and like I said, I understand
Right.
why when we look at snakes, we demonize the snake, or we think, we resort to snakes being evil due to, the Western institutions that some of us come out of, particularly the story of Adam, Adam and Eve, and the serpent came to Eve and
Right.
convinced her to bite the fruit, and this was the fall of man, through the snake. So I mean, again, in African culture, snake was not demonized.
Right. That's more of European culture. I want to
Mm.
say in Ireland, it was almost like a sport to kill snakes, to find and kill serpents or snakes. So yeah, that's more of a European thing. In Africa, the serpent or the snake was always highly venerated. That's
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I'm even doing this presentation too, to set set the record straight on snakes or serpents and crocs and all type of other animals that are looked at in the wrong way because we come up in a Western society. But yeah, man. All right, Adiwedo. Adiwedo is the loa of fertility, rainbows, winds, water, fire, and snakes in voodoo, especially in Benin and Haiti. Adiwedo is known as the rainbow serpent. Variants of Adiwedo's name include Idawedo, Idawedo, Aido, Quedo, and Idahuedo. The Fon people of Benin believe the snake, believe the rainbow snake Adiwedo, created to serve Nana Bukulu, held up the heavens. The creature had a twin personality, as the red part of the rainbow was male, while the blue part was female. She is portrayed as a narrow green snake. Like Dambala, she lives in the sky as well as in all the trees, springs, pools, and rivers. In some West African mythology, Mawu, the creator, sent down Adanhu and Yewu from the sky with the rainbow serpent Adiwedo. All right, I'm pretty sure most of us, or a lot of us, have probably seen this symbolism. So we'll get into what that means. Snakes are thought to be immortal in many societies or represent the departed or the living dead. For that reason, specific types of snakes in the physical world are not harmed. If they appear in dreams, they are bearing a message from the ancestors. And if drawn, are shown consuming their tails to symbolize eternity, which is the exact image I have on the right. This is a symbol of eternity, the snake swallowing its own tail. Um, we also see that these serpents can be thought of as reincarnated ancestors. They can even come in dreams with messages. So, I mean, these serpents are very highly revered and respected. A book is what the Dinka of the southern Sudan called the first woman in the world. The Dinka represent a book with a snake. Her favorite animal is a small snake, and her representation as a snake speaks to the concept of coolness and intelligence that is associated with women in many African cultures. So not only do the Dinka represent the first woman as a serpent, they feel uh, they associate the characteristics of coolness and intelligence to the women and these serpents. So more reverence. Apep. Apep was the god of disillusion, destruction, and non-being. Nothing could escape the attention of Apep when he wanted to advance an adversary position. Indeed, in ancient Egypt, Apep was the main adversary to Ra, seeking to destroy Ra, to bring him into non-being, and to create havoc in the society. He swallowed his enemies and caused them complete non-existence. Because no one wanted to be non-existent, Apep was especially feared. Apep was depicted as a huge snake that existed at the beginning of time in the primeval chaos prior to creation, and he was thought to be impervious to all assaults, attacks, and attempts to defeat him because he was pure evil whose life was that of a malevolent force for all eternity. There is no evidence of Apep prior to the Middle Kingdom, but he is written about as if he existed before the beginning. And you see Apep, you see the you see Ra, you see the solar bark of Ra, and you see Set at the front of the solar boat defending Ra. I put this specific picture because as it shows and depicts Apep, it also shows Set defending Ra, which I think a lot of people forget about. Mami Wata stands for a pantheon of water deities found primarily in the voodoo tradition practiced in Benin and Togo. We in Benin and Togo a lot with these serpents. However, manifestation and variations of Mami Wata, particularly as a female water deity, along with her devotees, are found in at least 20 African countries, the Caribbean, and North America. As a specific deity, Mami Wata appears as a beautiful creature, half woman, half fish, with long hair and light brown complexion, and she lives in an exquisite underwater world. She is often depicted with a snake around her waist or across her shoulders or with a comb and mirror. The snake is the immortal messenger of deities and a symbol of divination, which is important to devotees and mamisi. And every time I've never seen Mami Wata depicted without a serpent. And in my part one, I mentioned Mami Wata too in relation to crocodiles. She is sometimes depicted with crocodiles. One of her earliest depictions were with crocodiles, but she also always has the serpent. She's always connected to the serpent. In a primary source, in a primary source of written work that was published in 1734 entitled A New Account of Some Parts of Guinea and the slave trade. William Snellgrave, an English sea captain and slave trade on the west coast of Africa, mentions the worship by the natives of Ouida of a python deity. So this is when I did my presentation on Ouida, the kingdom of Ouida, uh, who they were, if they were connected to some specific Asiatics or not. Uh, this was one of the primary sources that I used. So I just slid it in this presentation just to show how the people of Ouida worship snakes and serpents. So I'm not gonna read all of this, but anybody that want to pause it later when you go back to the archives and read it, you are free to. It is basically breaking down the invasion of Ouida by the kingdom of Dahomey. Um, so we'll start at the bottom. It says okay, hold on. I'll read. It ain't no problem. The conquest of Apragra gave the king an early entrance into the heart of the country, but he was obligated to halt there by a river which runs about half a mile to the northward of the principal town of the Ouidals, which were the people of Ouida, called Save, the residence of their king. Here the king of Dahomey encamped for some time, not imagining he could have found so early or so easy a passage and conquest as he met with afterwards. For the pass of the river was of that nature. It might have been defended against his whole army by 500 resolute men, but instead of guarding it, these cowardly, luxurious people, he's talking about the people of Ouida, these cowardly, luxurious people, thinking the same of their numbers, sufficient to deter the Dahomes from attempting it, kept no set guard. They only went every morning and evening to the riverside to make fetish, as they call it, that is, to offer sacrifice to their principal god, which was a particularly harmless snake they adored and prayed to on this occasion to keep their enemies from coming over the river. So basically, they were getting invaded by the kingdom of Dahomey, and instead of guarding the river that which was the entrance into their kingdom, they just basically left it. They ran and left it. And the William Snellgrave is explaining that the only time that they would come to this river was morning and evening to offer sacrifice or make offering to their snake deity. Now, this is dealing with those same people that was in that was in the 18th century. Now we're dealing with modern times, the people of Benin or Ouida in modern times. The python is still worshipped in Ouida today. The sacred python temple that houses dozens of royal pythons, which members of the cult honor with sets of facial scars that are supposed to represent its fangs. And you see the young sister here with the scarification that is identifiable with the cult of the python. So they have these specific sets of scarification marks, and it represents not only the fangs but the coloration and the marks of this specific python.
Yeah, they have them on their mask as well. You see the same things, those same marks on their mask as well.
Oh yeah. Okay, in the land of the Zulus, the mamba is a very sacred creature indeed. Zulu people believe that their kings will, after death, reincarnate as mambas. And when a mamba, whether black mamba or the deadly green mamba, invades a Zulu homestead after the death of a royal person, it is held to be that the royal person has come to say goodbye to those he or she has left behind, and some come in the form of a mamba. It is said that only good kings are given the right by the gods of being reborn as mambas. So another reincarnation of ancestors through serpents. In Africa, everywhere snakes are not held to be evil creatures. We were just speaking on this. Far from it. A snake, no matter which kind, is seen as a symbol of regeneration and rebirth because every year a snake sheds its skin to become a new creature again. In olden days, if a person was bitten by a mamba, it was believed that the person or a relative of his or hers had committed an act of treason against the reigning king or was planning to commit such an act. We go back to Kemet, where Renenunet is a Kemetic female deity. The importance of the harvest caused people to make offerings to Renenunet during harvest time. Renenunet was depicted as a cobra or as a woman with the head of a cobra. Renenunet right on the left. And right up under her is Wajet. Wajet is said to be the patron and protector of Lord Kemet. And upon unification with Upper Kemet, the joint protector and patron of all of Kemet, goddess of Upper Kemet. The image of Wajet with the sun disk is called the Uraeus, and it was the emblem on the crown of the rulers of Lord Kemet. She was also the protector of the king and of women in childbirth. Wajet was said to be the nurse of the infant god Horus or Haru. As the patron goddess, she was associated with the land and depicted as a snake headed woman or as a snake, usually an Egyptian cobra, a venomous snake common to the region. Sometimes she was depicted as a woman with two snake heads, and at other times, a snake with a woman's head. That was it. That's all I got, man. Here's my sources. Y'all can pause and check out any of those. Come back to it if there's any discrepancies that you find in my work. Me and my brothers are not above correction, so we welcome it. And subscribe to the channel. Share this with your friends. Anybody that would enjoy um, information on African history, African culture, African American history, African American culture, this is what we do here. So share with anybody that would be appreciative of this information. Um, share with your kids, your family members, uh, anybody that would enjoy it. That's all I got.
Yes, sir. That was pretty good. That was good, just like the last one was good. And you mentioned critique. You said
Right,
all the brothers over here, we not above critique. We always,
right.
we talk about critique, and we was talking about that last night. And I just wanted to reiterate, yeah, we're not above critique. No one is above critique. I wanna, just real quick, no one is exempt from critique. Any number two, any order of critique, you have to be qualified. We talked about that last night. about being qualified. Some people is not qualified to critique other people, and that meaning, you know, you just read something a month ago, and now you want to come back and critique. You're not well studied on the subject matter in hand, so there's no need to critique. So that's number two. Any in order to critique, you have to be qualified. Number three, character is a key element on both parts. So, you know, anytime you try to critique anybody, you know, you make sure you do it you know, with good character, you know, with good character. I mean, a lot of that kind of goes over our head when we talk about, and I think I'm gonna start putting them in each slide too. You know, when I do my disclaimer, you know, come back and
Mm-hmm.
always reiterate those three elements when we talking about critiquing, you know. But man, like I said, good job, man. I'm
I
gonna go
appreciate
back and check it out again, man. And those who may have missed part one, man, please go back in the archives and check out part one. Part one was a pretty good presentation as well, and part two was a pretty good presentation. Um, Also, man, if anybody in the got on the panel got something, you know, questions, uh, just to come in. Anybody on the panel got any questions about the presentation my brother did, or you got a question for him dealing with his presentation, go ahead and put it in the chat.
Yeah, I just want to say, this was another good presentation, and when he was going over the snakes and he did a pep, I was wondering if he was gonna have Rennet in there. So something told me not to say nothing. I was like, I'm gonna just let him rock on out, and I'm glad I did because he had it in there.
Yeah,
He had the Wajet in there. So
yeah,
this is a good presentation, man.
yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. It was actually some information I left out that I couldn't find a good source to use. I wanted to put in how serpents, their venom is used to make anti-venoms and medication, but I couldn't really find a good enough source, so I just left it out. But yeah, man, it's I had to stop myself before I put too much into this because this is a very interesting presentation. It was very interesting putting it together too.
Yeah, I mean, you did something. I had to cover some of everything with Africa, man. And you did something I didn't even think about, man. When you know on the reptile, man, and when you first told me you wanted to do it, I was like, reptiles, huh? You know, and I didn't know how you was gonna come with it, man. When you did part one, I was like, yeah. I was like, well, I'm ready for part two.
Yeah, that's where I was at. I was wondering what the angle was gonna be. I'm like, well, you know, I like to let things play out before I jump out the tree because I don't want to hit every branch on the way down. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad he did this too, like you said, Kofi.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't see any comments in the chat, man. Well, you know, ain't no comments in the chat, man. Appreciate everybody that was tuning in. This was a short, nice, and sweet presentation by Brother Sutek. Be on the lookout for more information, more presentations on Sutek. Hold on, Brother Zane said it is 3 types of snake venom. Uh, I ain't even finna go blood cells, some kind of snake venom, cytotonic, that's blood cells, neurotonic, that's nerve damage, hemotoxin, blood cell damage, times disrupt blood coagulation. So I guess these snake venoms is what you're saying. These are what they're used for people blood cells, for nerve damage and blood cell damage. Okay. Yeah. I thought about medical use at the bullfrogs. Okay. Yeah, that's something I didn't know nothing about. Neither of them using those. What kind of them was with bullfrogs? You said
Right, yeah,
Sutek.
the African bullfrog.
And they was using those for what kind of medical use? I can't remember what you said it was. They were using them for
I don't even think I put it. I don't even think I put it in there. But yeah, I know about uh the African bullfrog being used for certain medicines and medications.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I put it in there or not.
Yeah, I thought you did put it in there.
I think
I thought
I
you
might
did.
have.
Yeah, I think you did put it up in there.
Yeah, I like what he did on the frog too, because like he said, I'm a big National Geographic fan. I watch them all the time. I get on YouTube and I just put something in, and
Me
the
too.
frogs, them real colorful ones. The indigenous people, they would that because the skin on some of them secrete this stuff, and they would put their arrows on them. The tip of their arrows on the frog, and then they would shoot those at animals. You know what I'm saying? It'll kill the animal. The toxin on the tip of the arrow, man.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. Children's cough. They would cure. They use it for children's cough,
Yep.
appendicitis, and skin injuries.
Yeah. I remember you put it in there. You had put up the name of few. Yeah, I didn't know that. And Sister Kaba, peace, Sister Kaba. She put animal venom studies, current benefits and future developments, world of biology, chemistry. This was an article. So anybody, I'm gonna have to click and get that article too and check it out. So she put an article in there on the animal venoms study. Those are snake venoms natural effects. Now, if they mix or use a certain dose, it wouldn't. Now, okay, yeah. So again, man, appreciate, I always have to give my same little spiel, man. I mean, y'all could have been doing anything else with y'all time, man, but y'all, gave a little of y'all time, man, to tune in and listen to what we had to say, man. So we appreciate y'all, man, and be on the lookout next week. Um, I'll come back next week, Sunday, maybe early Sunday, on Kofi Piesie TV, and I'll be doing West African Secret Society, the Poro Society presentation, and I'm gonna put a little treat in there about another secret society to let small information about these sisters. But the Poros are the men's secret society in Sierra Leone and Liberia, and the women's secret society in Sierra Leone and Liberia is the Bondo and Sandy Society. If you're not familiar with that, go to Moxie Warrior Clan YouTube channel, and the presentation I did is on there. I think I did it maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. And now I'm going to come back with the male secret society in that region, the Poro Society. So be on the lookout for that next week on Kofi Piesie TV, and then probably following the week after that, I'll be dropping uh, African secret societies and their purpose. So I'll have a whole article with a lot of different secret societies in Africa and their purpose. So be on the lookout for that. Hopefully we'll have some more presentations coming down the pipeline off of Kofi Piesie TV families and affiliates. I'm gonna have to probably go out there with a tech head and just strap him down to a seat and put a book in front of his face, a couple of books, and make him read, and then hold him at gunpoint and make him type out a type out a presentation. I'm probably gonna have to go to Oklahoma and do the same thing for a boss or two. Um, but yeah, we got a few more presentations coming down the pipeline, man, from these brothers pretty soon, man. So be like I said, be on the lookout next week for the West African Secret Society, the Poro Society, next week. Again, appreciate y'all, man. Black African Power, man, and we'll see
Hey,
y'all next week, man. Oh, go ahead.
I had to settle my son down, but did y'all see my comment in the chat saying to pull up Kaiser's Cure in 1750 in the Americas when y'all was talking about the snakes and venom and cures?
Oh, yeah, I just seen you typed it in there.
Yeah, that was a slave who got his freedom here in 1750, in North Carolina for his cure on snake venom. And then you
Oh,
had and I wonder if that has to do with a connection of you had a lot of serpent cults coming into Saint Domingo um, before the 1800s as well. So I wonder if that knowledge comes through that bloodline.
I don't
I
know,
was
but when
looking
you
into that.
yeah, but when you
But
mentioned that, when you looking at that, you had a wave of people from Togo and Benin that was in that area doing the slave trade. You know, that imaginary line again. You got Haiti on one side, so you look at the Haitians. That was their particular system that they brought out of West Africa, specifically Togo and Benin. They practiced voodoo, and then they created, voodoo um, in Haiti. So I mean, so you like I said, you got the fun people who was in that area. So when you look at Togo and Benin, and you look at a lot of things with the voodoo, the serpent is very revered um, in in that tradition. So again, like I said, you see a lot of um, people that was taken from that region and brought into that area. So that's probably why you see those serpent coats, those serpent ways in that area.
yeah,
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yep. hmm But yeah, man, we out of here, man. We'll see y'all, man, next week, man. Y'all take care, man. Black African Power, man. We out.
peace everybody.
Peace.